Hey, my name is Lucas Miller. I'm 26, and I live alone in a small wooden house on the edge of a quiet lake town near Asheville, North Carolina. It's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone else's business, but folks mostly keep to themselves. I work in construction, spending my days on job sites, laying foundations, framing walls, hauling materials under the sun or rain. It's hard work, the kind that leaves you bone-tired by evening with calluses on your hands and dust in your hair. But it pays the bills, and honestly, I like it. There's something satisfying about building things that last, even if my own life feels like it's still under construction. I don't have much family left. My parents died in a car accident 5 years ago when I was just starting out on my own. No siblings, no aunts or uncles checking in. It's just me now, rattling around in that little house with its creaky floors and a view of the lake from the back porch. Most evenings I heat up something simple for dinner, maybe watch a game on the old TV and call it a night. But on weekends when the work week's beaten me down, I have this ritual. I grab my fishing rod, hop on my bike, and pedal out to the lake. It's not about catching fish. Hell, I rarely do. It's about the quiet. The way the water laps against the shore. The birds dipping low, the sun sinking slow. Out there, the world feels bigger, and my problems feel smaller. That particular Saturday was no different. The air was thick with late summer humidity, the kind that sticks to your skin. I'd wrapped up a long shift framing a new deck for some folks in town, my muscles aching from lifting beams all day. I figured a couple hours by the water would shake off the fatigue. I threw my rod over my shoulder, pedaled down the gravel path from my house, and headed to my usual spot. A secluded bend where the reeds grow tall and the water's deep enough for a good cast. The sun was starting its slow dip toward the horizon, painting the lake in shades of orange and gold. I parked my bike against a tree, unhooked the rod, and started baiting the line. That's when I heard it. A soft splash, not like a fish jumping, but deliberate, like someone moving through the water. I paused, line half ready, and glanced toward the reeds. The spot was usually empty. Most people stuck to the public docks on the other side of the lake. Curiosity got the better of me. I set the rod down and crept closer, parting the tall grasses just enough to peek through. And there she was. A woman standing waist deep in the water, her back to me. She looked to be in her late 30s or early 40s, though it was hard to tell from that distance. Her dark brown hair was wet, clinging to her shoulders in long strands. She had a slender build, graceful even in the way she moved through the ripples. Her skin was pale against the darkening water, and she seemed lost in her own world, rinsing her arms with slow, careful motions. I froze, realizing she was bathing, completely unaware of me. My face heated up, and I started to back away, cursing myself for intruding. But as I shifted, a twig snapped under my boot. She whipped around, her eyes wide with alarm. Our gazes locked for a split second, hers deep and shadowed, mine probably wide with shock. She ducked lower into the water, crossing her arms over her chest. "Oh God," I muttered, raising my hands in surrender. "I'm so sorry. I thought the splash was a fish or something. I wasn't trying to spy." She didn't scream or yell, just stared at me with those intense eyes, her face flushing red. I could see the vulnerability there, mixed with something fiercer, like she was ready to bolt if I made a wrong move. I took another step back, tripping over my own feet in my haste. "Really, I'm leaving right now. I didn't see anything, I swear." But as I turned to go, her voice cut through the air, shaky but urgent. "Wait! Please, help!" I stopped, heart pounding. "What? Are you okay?" She hesitated, glancing around the water. "My clothes! They floated away. I can't get out like this." "There's nothing here. No towel, nothing." I looked toward the shore. Sure enough, only a pair of worn sneakers and a small canvas bag sat on the rocks. No clothes in sight. The current must have carried them off while she was distracted. "Shit," I said, rubbing the back of my neck. "Okay, hold on." Without thinking too hard, I shrugged off my jacket and then pulled my t-shirt over my head, leaving me in just my jeans and boots. The air was cooling, but I barely noticed. I bundled them up and set them on a flat rock by the water's edge. "Here, use these. They're clean, I promise. I'll turn around. Take your time." I spun on my heel, facing the trees, ears straining for any sound. Behind me, I heard the water shift, then soft footsteps on the gravel. A minute passed, maybe two. Finally, her voice came again, quieter now. "Thank you, really." I turned slowly, keeping my eyes respectful. She stood there in my oversized t-shirt and jacket, the sleeves hanging past her hands, her legs bare and shivering. Her feet were scratched and bleeding slightly, like she'd run through rough terrain to get here. Up close, she was even more striking. High cheekbones, full lips, and those eyes that held a world of stories. But there was sadness there too, etched in the lines around her mouth. "No problem," I said, trying to sound casual. "You okay? Looks like your feet are hurt. I live just up the path, got a first aid kit there, or I can call someone if you want." She shook her head, hugging herself tighter. "No calls, but if you could give me a ride somewhere safe, I'd appreciate it." I nodded, grabbing my bike. "My place is close. You can clean up there, figure out what to do next. I'm Lucas, by the way." "Evelyn," she replied softly, her voice carrying a faint tremor. She climbed onto the back of the bike seat, holding on loosely as I pedaled us away from the lake, the fading light casting long shadows on the path. I pedaled slowly back toward my house, the gravel crunching under the tires. Evelyn sat behind me on the bike seat, her hands lightly gripping the edges for balance. She didn't say much during the ride, just a quiet "thank you" when we started, her voice barely audible over the evening breeze. I could feel her shivering against my back, the dampness from the lake seeping through my jacket that she wore. The path wound through a stretch of open meadow before dipping back toward the tree line, and the sun had dipped low enough to cast everything in a soft, golden haze. My mind raced with questions. Who was she? What had led her to that spot on the lake? But I kept them to myself. The last thing she needed was some stranger prying. We reached my place after about 10 minutes. It's a modest wooden cabin tucked away from the main road, with a sloped roof and a small porch facing the water. I built an addition to the back porch myself last summer. Nothing fancy, just a spot to sit and watch the lake. I parked the bike against the railing and helped her down, careful not to touch her more than necessary. "Here we are," I said, unlocking the door. "It's not much, but it's dry and warm." She followed me inside, her bare feet patting softly on the wooden floor. I flicked on the lights, the single bulb in the living room casting a warm glow over the space. The room was simple. An old sofa against one wall, a coffee table cluttered with a few magazines and a half-empty toolbox, and a couple of framed photos on the mantel, yellowed with age. They were of my parents from better days, smiling at a family picnic by the same lake. A few potted cactuses sat on the windowsill, catching the last rays of daylight, and through the back window you could see the lake shimmering in the distance. "Make yourself comfortable," I told her, gesturing to the sofa. "I'll get you something to drink." I headed to the kitchen, pouring a glass of warm water from the kettle I'd left on earlier. When I came back, she was sitting on the edge of the cushion, arms wrapped around herself, her eyes darting around the room like she was assessing an escape route. I handed her the glass. "Here, this should help with the chill." She took it with a nod, her fingers brushing mine briefly. That's when I noticed the bruises, faint purple marks on her shoulder and arm, peeking out from under the jacket's collar. They looked fresh, like from a fall or worse. I didn't stare, but it twisted something in my gut. Who or what had done that to her? You can use the bathroom to change if you want," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'll grab you some dry clothes." I rummaged through my closet and found an old tracksuit that had belonged to my mom, gray sweatpants and a hoodie, soft from years of wear. They were a bit worn but clean. I set them on the bathroom counter along with a fresh towel. "Take your time, I'll be out here." She disappeared into the bathroom, the door clicking shut behind her. I heard the lock turn and I didn't blame her. While she was in there, I busied myself in the kitchen, pulling together a simple dinner. I wasn't much of a cook, but I had eggs, bread, and some oatmeal. I scrambled the eggs with a bit of cheese, toasted the bread, and heated up a bowl of oatmeal just in case. The smells filled the small space, making it feel less empty than usual. It had been a long time since I'd cooked for anyone but myself. After what felt like 20 minutes, the door opened. She stepped out, dressed in the tracksuit, her wet hair combed back. The clothes were baggy on her, but she looked more composed, though her eyes were still red-rimmed, like she'd been fighting back tears. "Thank you," she said again, her voice steadier now. "For everything. I don't know what I would have done out there." "No worries," I replied, setting a plate on the coffee table. "Here, eat something if you're hungry. It's nothing special, but it'll warm you up." She sat down, picking at the eggs tentatively, taking small bites. I didn't push her to eat more. She seemed like she was forcing it down just to be polite. I grabbed a plate for myself and sat in the armchair across from her, giving her space. The silence stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable, just two strangers sharing a moment. I noticed her glancing at the photos on the mantel. "Those are my folks," I said to fill the quiet. "Gone now, but this was their place before it was mine." She nodded, her expression softening a bit, but she didn't ask more. Instead, she set her fork down after a few bites. "I should go soon," she murmured. "I don't want to impose." "You're not," I assured her. "Look, it's getting dark out. Stay the night if you need to. I'll take the sofa. It's comfortable enough. You can have the bedroom." She hesitated, her fingers twisting the edge of the hoodie. Finally, she nodded. "Just one night." "Thank you, Lucas." I showed her to the room, a simple space with a double bed, a nightstand, and a lamp. I pulled fresh sheets from the linen closet and made it up quickly. "There's a spare toothbrush in the bathroom drawer if you need it." She thanked me once more and closed the door softly. I settled on the sofa with a blanket, the house quieter than ever, but not empty. As I lay there, staring at the ceiling, I heard a soft sigh from behind the bedroom door. For the first time in years, my home didn't feel so lonely. I woke up early the next morning, the first light filtering through the curtains and casting a soft glow across the living room. The sofa had been more comfortable than I'd expected, but sleep had come in fits. My mind kept drifting back to Evelyn in the next room, the stranger I'd brought home on a whim. I stretched, shaking off the stiffness, and headed to the kitchen quietly, not wanting to wake her. I brewed a pot of strong coffee, the aroma filling the small space, and toasted some bread with butter and jam. It wasn't much, but it was what I had. I scribbled a quick note on a scrap of paper. "If you need anything,